Hello, Matthews Gatos here. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to factoring and the greatest common factor. So factoring just means to write polynomials as a product of simpler polynomials. So when I factor a trinomial, I'm going to break it down into the product of two binomials using whatever my preferred factoring method is. So factoring is really the inverse to multiplying. For example, if I have these two binomials, x plus 4 times x plus 3, I can multiply them together using the distributive property, collect like terms, and get this trinomial. So really, we're just reversing this process and going from the trinomial back to its original binomial factors. So before we do any type of factoring, we always want to check for the greatest common factor. That's the biggest number that is a factor of two or more numbers. Now it must be a factor of all the terms. So anytime I do a trinomial, ax squared plus bx plus c, and I want to factor it when a is not 1, I always check for a GCF. So I'm going to show you two ways to check for a GCF. The first way is just listing out the factors. So I look at the numbers and I only take the positive. So I know that's subtracting, but it's subtracting an 8. So I'm going to list out the factors of 12, 8, and 20. So 12 is 1 times 12 and 2 times 6 and 3 times 4. So there are all its factors. 8 is 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. So there are all the factors of 8. 20 is 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. So what I do now is I look for the biggest number that goes into all of those numbers, and I see that will be a 4. So that tells me that the greatest common factor of 12, 8, and 20 is 4. Now another way I can find the greatest common factor is on the calculator. I want to show you that. So on the calculator, they call it a greatest common divisor, but it's the same thing as a GCF. So when I have two numbers, I just do the GCD of number 1 comma number 2. When I have three numbers, I have to trick the calculator into doing GCF. So I do GCD of number 1 comma, and then look here, I embed another one, GCD of number 1 comma number 3, and I'll show you what that looks like. So how do we get to this greatest common divisor? Well, we're going to hit our math button, which is right there. We're going to use our arrow keys to toggle over to number, and then use our arrow key to go down to option number 9, which is greatest common divisor. So let's go ahead and try that again for this question. We want to find the GCF of 12, 8, and 20. So we found that it was 4. Let's check on the graphing calculator if that's right. So math, over to number, down to option number 9, and I'm going to do the GCD of, I'm going to do my first number, which is 12. And then comma, I'm going to do it again. Math, number, GCD, and then I'm going to enter in my next two numbers, only positive numbers, 8 and 20. So I go back over here and I go 8, comma, the comma again is above the 7, 20, and then close my little bracket, close my big bracket, and press enter, and I get 4. So I can see whether I use the calculator or listing out the factors, I get the greatest common factor of 4. So what do you do with that? Well, if I take this same trinomial now that I know that the GCF is 4, I'm going to factor it. Now, factoring just means I'm dividing each term by the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor was 4, so I'm going to write that outside of the brackets. And in essence, I am dividing each term by 4 and writing the result inside the bracket. So 12 divided by 4 is 3x squared. Take away 8 divided by 4 is 2x, plus 20 divided by 4 is 5. And now I have factored the GCF from the trinomial. So anytime you have a trinomial, please look for the GCF first. So I hope that video helped, and I look forward to seeing you for the next one.